I'm Joel Chandler. Welcome to another episode of Unsealed. In most episodes, I take you behind the scenes for a look at various open government projects that I'm working on, or we discuss issues relating to open government in Florida. But occasionally, we take time to talk about what happens when authority operates in the shadows. In those episodes, we tell stories that remind us why government transparency matters. That's what we're going to do today. Today, we're discussing a boy, a boot camp, and a cover-up that went all the way to the top. Martin Lee Anderson was a 14-year-old boy. His crime? Taking his mother's car for a joyride and then trespassing at school. A dumb, impulsive thing, the kind of things that teenagers do. For that, the state of Florida decided he needed discipline, so they sent him to the Bay County Sheriff's boot camp. 18 hours later, he was dead. Florida's boot camps were the political flavor of the 1990s and early 2000s. They promised to scare kids straight with military drills, screaming drill instructors, and hard labor. But the truth? They broke kids. Period. The Bay County camp was the brainchild of Sheriff Guy Tunnell, who later became Florida's top cop as commissioner of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. But that's a detail we'll talk about a little later. On January 5th, Martin entered the camp for intake. He was told to run laps. 6 laps in, he collapsed, saying he couldn't continue. And that is when the guards closed in. There was a surveillance camera rolling. What it captured would later shock the nation. 7 guards and a nurse surrounded Martin. They dragged him to his feet, kneed him in the thighs, struck him in the arms, forced him up against a pole. They shoved ammonia capsules up his nose, not once, but repeatedly. And when he fell limp, they kept going. The nurse, Kristen Schmidt, stood by and did nothing. For more than 30 minutes, this went on. A child, suffocating in plain sight. By the time paramedics arrived, Martin had suffered irreversible brain damage from lack of oxygen. And the next day, January 6th, he was dead. An autopsy conducted by Dr. Charles Siebert, Bay County's medical examiner, concluded Martin died of complications from sickle cell trait. Natural causes, no trauma, no foul play. But millions of people live with sickle cell trait without dropping dead on a jogging track. But Siebert's ruling gave cover to the guards, the sheriff, and the state of Florida. Case closed. But Martin's parents didn't buy it, nor did lawmakers who viewed the video in private. These lawmakers leaked descriptions of the footage to the media, and then the media outlets filed public records lawsuits demanding the video's release under Florida's open government laws. The legal pressure, combined with descriptions leaked by lawmakers who had seen the video, forced authorities to make the video public. Meanwhile, FDLE Commissioner Guy Tunnell, the very man who created the Bay County boot camp and who was supposedly overseeing the investigation, emails later showed him working with local officials to keep the video under wraps and away from the public. The extent of Tunnell's coordination became clear when his emails were released in March 2006. These communications revealed that Tunnell had been working directly with Bay County Sheriff Frank McKeithen, detailing his agency's efforts to withhold the surveillance video from the public. The emails showed Tunnell sending friendly messages to McKeithen, criticizing those who complained about the boot camp's effectiveness. The revelations were damaging enough that Special Prosecutor Mark Ober felt compelled to remove the entire Florida Department of Law Enforcement from the investigation. He said that due to comments exposed by FDLE Commissioner Guy Tunnell in recently released emails regarding the Bay County boot camp, I have determined that it is in the best interest of the investigation that an independent law enforcement agency assist my office. Adding to the appearance of impropriety, Martin's mother, Gina Jones, revealed that Tunnell and McKeithen had been seen together at a Panama City restaurant just days after her son's death. If Guy Tunnell was investigating Martin's death, what were he and the sheriff talking about? Finishing covering up Martin's death, she said. But by February 2006, public pressure forced the release of the tape. And once people saw it, outrage exploded. Protests swept Tallahassee. Students staged sit-ins at Governor Jeb Bush's office. Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton flew in. the cover-up collapsed under the weight of its own lies. Governor Bush appointed a special prosecutor and ordered a second autopsy. And this time, the autopsy was conducted by the Hillsborough County medical examiner, and his conclusions were damning. Martin died of suffocation. His mouth was covered, his airways closed by ammonia fumes that caused his vocal cords to spasm shut. In other words, Martin was killed. Tunnell resigned in April 2006 amid this scandal. By late 2006, 7 guards and Nurse Schmidt were indicted for aggravated manslaughter on a child. Finally, accountability. Not exactly. The trial opened in 2007. Prosecutors played the video. They showed the second autopsy. The evidence seemed overwhelming. But the defense argued the guards were just following training, that they thought Martin was faking. They leaned on Siebert's original autopsy, the one that blamed sickle cell trait. After 3 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for just 90 minutes, and their verdict? Not guilty. Every single one of them walked free. Martin's mother, Gina Jones, stormed out of the court in anguish, saying, "You kill a dog, you go to jail. You kill a little black boy, and nothing happens." Though criminal justice failed, public outrage forced change. Florida shut down all 5 of its juvenile boot camps. They were replaced by educational programs and counseling instead of beatings. The law that abolished boot camps was named the Martin Lee Anderson Act. The state of Florida paid Martin's family $5 million. Bay County paid another $2.4 million. Dr. Siebert was relieved of his duties as medical examiner. Guy Tunnell returned to Bay County and later became a county commissioner. But none of that brought Martin back. In 2010, the U.S. Department of Justice declined to bring federal civil rights charges, stating they could not prove the guards acted willfully as required by law. Martin Lee Anderson was 14. He loved to play chess. He looked like his dad. He was a kid. Instead of a second chance, he got a death sentence in a state-run program. And the people who killed him, on camera, in front of a nurse, never spent a day in prison. That's not just a Florida story. That's America. Systems designed to protect themselves. Justice that bends towards power. And yet the truth got out. The tape was released. The protest worked. The boot camps are gone. This is why public records matter. This is why transparency matters. Because without the video, without the second autopsy, Martin's death would have been just another natural cause. Florida likes to brag about its open government laws, but laws don't enforce themselves. People do. Citizens do. And if we stop demanding access, if we stop shining light, then cover-ups like the one that almost erased Martin Anderson will succeed. This episode was produced using publicly available records and articles from CNN, CBS News, ABC News, NPR, the Tampa Bay Times, the Orlando Sentinel, Fox News, Essence Magazine, the U.S. Department of Justice, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Bay County Sheriff's Office, court records from the state of Florida v. Dickens, autopsy records from Bay County and Hillsborough County medical examiners, Florida legislative records including the Martin Lee Anderson Act, Prison Legal News, the FAMUN, WFSU Public Media, Florida State University Archives, and various other news outlets and government sources. Additional research drew from academic sources, legal advocacy organizations, and contemporaneous reporting from 2006 through 2010. All factual claims are supported by multiple verified sources from this research. I'm Joel Chandler. Thank you for listening to another episode of Unsealed. Remember, the truth dies in the dark.